Reading from Bob Hergus' column, which he wrote with Tim Novak, his partner at the Chicago Sun-Times. Illinois' gaming board say they were unaware of key information when the agency approved a state license back in 2019 for Jeffrey Bertucci's Steak and Egg or Diner, great name, in Cicero to offer video gaming there. Now they plan to revoke the license. They say they did not realize when they approved the gaming license that Mr. Bertucci had in fact testified back in 2010 in a mob gambling case. I think he received immunity for that. That he had paid winnings from illegal video gaming machines back in the day that were installed in his diner. And he then split his take with the Chicago outfit, the so-called Video Poker King. So that's the backstory. So let's welcome Bob Hergus back to the Big 89. Bob, as far as the Gaming Commission not realizing what was going on, that this guy had given testimony in a trial about illegal gaming years before, what's their excuse for missing this?
By the way, thanks for having me. Yeah, this seems to be a recurring thing that we've been writing about over the past 6 months, year or so, about questions as to why the Illinois Gaming Board has allowed certain people to be licensed to allow legal video gaming when they have things in their background that would seem to preclude that. And this is just the latest case. There's a little restaurant, a little 24-hour diner called Steak and Egger in Cicero. And this guy has owned it for a long time as part of a franchise deal with the Carr family that owns the chain, who are politically connected and elected officials in various places. And so they, before video gaming was legal, he had machines in there in tandem with some reputed mob figures, and then was paying out illegal winnings. And he testified under a grant of immunity at a mob trial, 2010, right around the time that this was actually legalized, video gaming was. And then moving forward, he applies in 2018 or so for a license to now legally offer gaming in his diner. It's approved by the Gaming Board in 2019, and we write about it in May. And the Gaming Board acknowledged or said just recently they did not know about the testimony and acknowledgement of illegal activity by this guy when he testified at the mob trial. So it's very strange.
But giving Bertucci the benefit of the doubt, was it Bertucci's obligation to disclose that years before he had given testimony?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is not all in the Gaming Board's lap, right? I mean, we have some personal responsibility in this world, and Bertucci was obligated to acknowledge to them if he wanted to be licensed as he was being vetted. He had the opportunity and the obligation to come clean about anything he had done in this sphere that was illegal. And what he did do was he acknowledged that he'd been arrested once before for keeping a house of gaming illegally back in 2000. So when he was being vetted in 2018 for the license, he acknowledges this sort of lesser crime, but leaves out, apparently, according to the Gaming Board, this testimony under grant of immunity in federal court for these reputed mob figures. And so now we inquire about it. Gaming Board says they learned about it from us, and now they're going to move to yank his license.
The Gaming Board obviously not integrated with all the other agencies of government, kind of the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing sort of thing?
Well, I mean, sort of. I mean, they are the state's gambling regulators. They are under the auspices of Governor Pritzker or any governor. And, I kind of have the long view on this a little bit. I mean, I was covering the Gaming Board when the Rosemont Casino was being proposed. And back then, a whiff or hint of mob connection to mafia, organized crime, et cetera, was disqualifying. And now there have been a series of very, subject of our stories, questions about why so-and-so is being licensed, given their admitted connections and obvious connections. So this is just the latest part of that.
You referenced that Rosemont Casino effort years ago. I knew a man who was an initial investor in that, and it just didn't move, and he pulled his money out before the whole thing collapsed, and he considers that to be one of the best deals of his life, to get his money out before it collapsed.
Yeah.
So Mr. Bertucci now will have his gaming license revoked for his place in Cicero. What about his place in Stickney?
Well, I'm not sure that he still owns that. The Stickney place was where, according to the gaming board, he owned a restaurant where the illegal gambling took place in 2000-ish when he was arrested. So I don't know anything about that beyond what's in the records. What he owns now is in Cicero, and he does have video gaming in there legally. He's been licensed since 2019. He's been pulling in, there's been millions of dollars of bets since then. So even though it's a little bitty spot, these places can be potentially very lucrative. To be fair to him, we did reach out to him, have not heard back. We reached out to him the first story, could not get him. We even showed up there looking for him at his restaurant, could not find him. So, we never did speak to him. So I do not know what his plans are. This is not like a done deal. The gaming board is planning and moving ahead with revoking, but there is a process that needs to go through, and he does have rights in terms of, presenting, mitigating circumstances or evidence or appealing this or whatever. So there is a process.
That's what I was going to ask you. He can appeal this gaming board's decision, right?
Yeah, I don't know if appeal is the right word, but there is a lengthy process that he can engage in if he'd like to push back and try to counter this.
I wonder if his defense will be, look, I was just a little ahead of the curve because I knew everything was going to be legalized anyway.
And really, when he testified, it literally was being legalized right then. But just prior to that, it was definitely illegal, and so he was doing two things, right? He was paying out illegally winnings in these machines, and he was also playing footsie with the mob.
Well, I guess it keeps you and your partner Tim Novak in business over there at the Sun-Times, doesn't it, Bob?
Yeah, sure does.
Bob Herga, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Much appreciated. I'll read your next installment in the Sun-Times.